Now, why does the door-to-door industry create so many millionaires for young Latter-day Saints? Let's knock on our first door and find out. I'm just playing, y'all. Listen, we here at Vivint headquarters, we're meeting with the top manager in all of Vivint. He leads the most successful door-to-door space, and he has never sacrificed his morals to do it. Let's see what he's talking about. My boy, Tyler Thorn. I appreciate you being here, dog.
Of course, brother.
Let the people know who you are, man.
Oh, I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude, father, disciple, and I do some business.
Some business. So he leads Vivint's most successful team. Now, if you're not familiar with Utah culture, LDS culture, there is a lot of stigmas that get placed with sales and the door-to-door industry, and especially the missionary to door-to-door pipeline, or even missionaries before they go on their mission preparing by doing door-to-door. What is your experience with that?
I think mine's a little unique, right? Because I'm not from this area. I grew up like you, out of state. That was like never a thing I thought about. The mission wasn't, nor was door-to-door. Both of those were new to me. I think maybe here, I think it's simplified a little bit that people think because in missionary efforts that guys and young girls are going out and talking to strangers, that directly correlates to sales success, or that's preparatory. Having served a mission and having ran teams for a decade now, I don't really think it's that similar or like that preparatory. I think a lot more of the personal development and the truly finding yourself and being hyper intentional with your life is extremely correlated. And so I think people who serve phenomenal missions tend to come back and have a gravitational pull towards sales, just because I think they're just really deliberate people. For me, it wasn't the vehicle of sales itself particularly. It was just coming back from a mission. There was just no question that I was ready to try to take control of life and be prepared to be a father, be a husband. And I just saw that vehicle and some of the things that I'd practiced for years and the ability to work really hard, just be a really good fit. I just felt like I could utilize those things.
With how you are, what did you see, like for those who are arms, right? Mm-hmm. What qualities do people exhibit as a missionary that you saw would qualify them to be good salesmen?
That's a great question. It's so interesting because there's so many similarities and there's so many differences, right? Unfortunately, I think sometimes in the mission, they're told that if you're just obedient, that people will come into your path. And there's a lot of truth, but there's also the reality that you're talking to cold strangers. And so there are communication skills, right? Like there's a real skill set to getting a complete stranger to stop in their tracks and have a conversation with you. More than anything, I would just say the intentional way that people live, goal setting and planning. I think in my mission, what was so drilled into me was the ability to create a future outcome and deconstruct the plan that had to happen to get there. And just be so relentless in my study, so relentless in my execution of that I just truly believe that anything that I put out, that I could go accomplish it. And obviously that was all like the Lord's work and developing these investigators and building my zone or the mission, whatever role I was playing at the time. I think those people that learn to plan, set goals, be hyper intentional, when they come into the sales world, like it's just a skill to be learned. Yeah. Just like learning all the scriptures, just like learning all the lessons, just like learning to adapt to different investigators from different outcomes and being a chameleon with a bunch of people of different faiths. Sales is in a lot of ways similar. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to learn, but people who study and work really hard there, sales is not as hard. Right? Like it's a transactional thing. We're not asking people to like give up their biggest sins and their biggest weaknesses of the mortal flesh. We're just asking them to get some cool technology and swipe their credit card.
I don't want to put this thing out there where it's like, okay, you're a successful missionary, not a successful missionary, right? Like what really determines that? Because
for sure.
Now, those who have served missions but sales were extremely hard, what did you see that was like the drop off? Because we know that obviously getting someone to commit to something for eternity is way different than, selling them a couple months service.
Oh yeah. So there's a couple things, right? I think when you actually go into the mission field, there's so many different types of missionaries. And like you said, being a successful missionary is it's a hard thing to define, because somebody might go and baptize and convert lots of people, but come home and go inactive and never live the gospel for the rest of their life. Were they successful in conversion? Yes. And do they impact lots of people? But was it successful for them? right? And that's like for them to decide. But there's people who maybe aren't that influential and never had leadership positions, but they come home and they're incredible members of the church forever. Just honor all their covenants.
Yeah. I love that.
I think a big thing is sales is about performance. And so there's a way to have an incredible mission experience for yourself and even for the people and the wards that you're called to serve and in those communities, but necessarily not have mastered a high level of communication skill set, a high level of emotional intelligence, a high level of execution and planning. And in sales, like that's just hypercritical.
Yeah, you can't have that without it. So quick background story. When I failed what I thought I was failing at life, and my life like completely fell apart.
Anyone who knows Batch knows he's never failed at anything.
No, dude, I am a glorified failure. That's why I tell all the youth, dude. I just fail forward, bro. Like Meet the Robinsons, you know that clip where it's just like, yeah, just keep going. But I remember it was the pro day. I don't want to get into a lot of the controversial stuff, but I didn't perform the way that I knew I could perform. But because of that, being in a cutthroat industry with sports, didn't have an opportunity to make up for that. And I was in a slump spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There was some big heartbreak. I saw myself going down the mental dark hole that I saw myself doing previously before. And so I said, okay, I'm not about to do that. I need to make a call. Ty, first person I call. I call him. I'm in the parking lot of a mall. I'm like, dog, I need to get out of here. I'm broke. That's not even the motivating factor. I could easily go get my job back at Fat Cats. I said, bro, can you just help me make $25,000? Can you help me make $25,000? I was like, bro, I'll help you make that in a month. I looked at the phone and said, all right, I'm not listening to this guy. But okay, let me book the flight. So I booked a flight to Chicago, and I got to see firsthand how you run a team. And that, to me, completely changed my perspective of the stigmas that you have to be this cutthroat, Wolf of Wall Street, immoral character to do well in sales. And the fact that the gospel can apply to your life. Now, when I went out there, I realized I didn't go on a mission. So I saw the intensity that it takes to be a successful missionary put into action. I have not been able to live that schedule since. Waking up at the same time, eating the same exact breakfast every day, going to work out, coming home, doing my trainings, going to meetings, hitting the doors, getting to my rituals at night. We go through our analytics of what we did that day, go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Yep. I became obsessed with that. But after 3 months of doing that, dude, your mind just like becomes fried.
Yep.
And so for you, two things. One, how were you always that guy where like in terms of making sure gospel principles apply on the team? Because obviously in the industry, you run across so many different kind of people. And with your team, especially, it's interesting because you don't just recruit LDS people. A lot of teams in Vivint,
none of them.
A lot of teams in Vivint, they believe that the only way you can have a successful team is if you recruit return missionaries. But for you, just like the gospel, all are welcome on Ty's team. But how do you continue to put the gospel first and not push it on to people? But they know that Ty's LDS, they know that you're going to get an invite to come to church. You know you're going to get an invite to read the scripture. So were you always like that? Did you learn to become like that?
You know, I think a lot of that just had to do with growing up where I grew up, right? And I was one of maybe 8 LDS kids in my high school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't live in a community that was super active. It was actually really anti. And I think just that was an identity that, you know, I was really comfortable with from a young age, and understanding like my faith in who I am is like that identity as a disciple is just, it comes first. And it's going to permeate into every decision, and it's the lens that I see everything through. And you've been a part of trainings where by no means am I trying to like get everybody to come join me on my faith journey, but my whole team, I think anyone who's around me, I would hope that the net impression is the way that I live, the way that I speak, the way that I treat my spouse, the way that I treat my business, that they ask why. And that those questions lead to opportunities to teach.
I love that, dude. What is the craziest missionary experience that you've had on a team?
Oh man, I've probably taught, I've taught the first lesson to every car group that I've ever had. Like probably my whole team has heard the first lesson. And I've baptized. You know, I've been super blessed to have, you know, people that were open and had an opportunity to share the gospel on a much more like deeper level with a few. And I think I think we look at those and see that as like missionary success or discipleship success. And it is, right? It's awesome when somebody goes to that level. But I would say like bigger than that, the broader is, I have a lot of people that will come to me from my programs just about more serious life things because of the way that I live. And they're aware that there's a different piece, that there's, yes, we're chasing these goals, and yes, we want to dominate, and like, yes, our sales matter, but at the end of the day, there's a confidence and there's a peace that, so what? At the end of the day, like there's this eternal perspective. And so the question I get asked probably the most is, how do you not get anxious? How do you not get overwhelmed? And the answer is always, it's just my faith. Like, dude, I'd love for us to win this thing. I'd love for us to go to this level. But at the end of the day, like, this is like 1/8 of me. And it's arguably like the least important part. We named my team and my organization Impact. And I think I told you this, and I tell all our reps this. I think when you help somebody take care of their ability to create fiscal or temporal success for themselves, to become temporally independent, then they start to solve all the problems that money can't. They got to start to go work on their emotions, their spirituality, their relationships, the things that you just can't write a check for. And so I think when you are a person that is spending as much time working on those and is living frugally, creating enough means for you and your family, it's very apparent to people what is fueling you, and it's the progression is for the sake of the journey of discipleship. Like God wants us to be engaged in good things.
Nah, dude, I'm telling you, dude, like the way that how you embody yourself as a manager, bro, isn't totally in line with the gospel, because I've been able to be in certain rooms where I'm learning about how the church is in terms of operations. And it's like, you've always been the guy where no matter who you are, where you are, I'll uplift you where you are. And I know that the church, like, for example, they'll go to an area and they'll create jobs for those people where they are, because they don't want them to have to leave where they are. They want them to, hey, but the reason being is, though, because when you're not worried about putting food on the table, where you're going to get your next meal from, how you're going to pay rent, then you're more willing to open your eyes to things that you may not have, right? And I know, like, something like you can get prideful when it comes to money, but that goes with anything,
for sure.
But being able to take care of your means and the humility that you approach that with, you're able to open yourself up to a level of spirituality that I don't think you can have when you're worried about your core needs to be able just to function as a human being.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite quotes ever, and I think it's like a really spiritual quote. I think people take it out of context the first time they hear it, but it's, if you can write a check for it, it's not a real problem. And you've heard me say that a lot, right? And the reason is I can solve rent, I can solve mortgage, I can solve car payments, I can solve certain medical expenses, right? Like shoes, clothes, whatever, like those aren't real problems, those are money problems. And so if you can help people eliminate as many money problems as possible, there's a lot of things you can't solve though. I can't build a testimony of the Lord. I can't develop a deep testimony of prayer or a yearning for my eternal soul. I can't solve the relationship issues with my spouse. Sometimes there's chronic diseases that I can't solve. Sometimes there's emotional struggles or depression or whatever it is. Like, there are a lot of things that a lot of people just don't get to work on because we are temporal beings in a temporal world, and there's something that's more pressing today, and that's food, shelter, clothing, their child care, whatever it may be. But truly, I believe with this with like every aspect of my heart, like if you can eliminate as many money problems as possible, whether that's increasing your skill set, which is what we teach, right? Yeah. To create more income, and then increasing your financial acumen to lower how many dumb decisions you make with your resources, be a better steward, you have a lot more capacity to work on things that are truly important.
Yeah, most definitely. Because, there's always this money is evil. There's like this stigma about,
for sure,
the pursuit of money is vain, but they don't realize that it costs money to change the world. Like, it costs money to build Zion.
Yeah.
And for those individuals that might feel guilty for like, man, I'm putting my head down, getting to work, grinding on it. What would your advice to them be? Because you are someone that has reached levels of success and you're still pushing for more success, but at no point Was your testimony jeopardized? Did you ever have to get rid of sacrifice your covenants in order to make this thing go? What would be your thoughts towards them?
So I'll cover two things, because I think that's a huge stigma, obviously in sales, right? Especially in Utah, it's like, you hear all the time, oh, they're top performers, but they just lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah.
And like, I'm gonna be completely honest, that permeates from some level of truth, right? Has there been people that have cut corners? 100%. Yeah. Are there people that do it the wrong way? 100%. But are there lots of incredibly talented, gifted, unbelievably prosperous people that are doing it absolutely the right way? Also 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Are there elders quorums presidents and bishops throughout all of time that are the most serving and loving and most developing people in the world? Yeah. Are there some that have done it wrong? Also, yeah. Right? And so it's just, with everything that you have more resources or access to more resources, there's an opportunity for the blessing of masses or for the manipulation of masses or the abuse of masses. And so my thing to everyone would just be, money by no means is evil. Money by no means changes you. It's simply leverage. And I think just like anything, it just amplifies or gives you access to do more of what you would have done. So if you're an incredibly spiritual, giving leader and disciple, like, you have more opportunities in a temporal world to do more of that.
Yeah.
And I think the other piece too is we live, and this is a hard concept that unfortunately schools don't teach, but I know that we've talked about this a lot. We live in a value economy. And I think there's, not to get like too into the weeds of how our money system works, but value is not a scarce resource. Like, our currency doesn't really have any like tie to any real thing. It's kind of, it's just an idea, right? It's like, hey, I exchange this for what you can give me in goods and services. The more value we create, the more currency there is available. You have to eliminate this belief that if I get some, that means everybody else lost more, right? Like there's a limited amount of opportunity in the world. There's not.
Yeah.
Just like there's not a limited amount of gospel, a limited amount of testimony. Like, you gaining your testimony doesn't pull from me or anyone else in the room, right? Like, in a lot of ways, it strengthens the rest of us. Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, money is very, very similar. If you can create, you probably provide more opportunities for others to create than you take.
And I want to emphasize that last point in terms of, I do believe money amplifies the person that you are. Now, unfortunately, like, there are people that get taken advantage of, right?
For sure.
But I think for someone like you, and this is my personal experience with you, the more success you've had has been able to pour into me. And I know that I wouldn't be doing the things today without the vehicle that you presented me. And it's not just that either. You helped me to learn how those principles can generate money. Because at the end of the day, we have to put food on our tables, right? And the more money that we have, the more money we're able to spread out. And I think people forget that. I think like we're so consumed with those that we see in the media that we don't even know that we might feel that are hoarding money doing this. But being involved with operations in the church, I was an intern for them, and I just saw how they're not cheap, but they're very conservative with their money. They understand, like, they pay the value for a service, right? But they won't spend unreasonably, but they will provide opportunities for people to grow as well. And I think with you and the way that you created a team, I wish people understood that the more successful you are, the more I know for you, and I think I can say this, Ken, like, you've created more six-figure and millionaire individuals at our age, because you're not, you 28, 29?
30 now.
30 now?
I'm getting old.
But still though, bro, to be 30 years old and to create as much wealth for others that you don't even touch a dime of, that to me is incredible. So I gotta say publicly, thank you, Todd, because I know anybody that enjoys any of my content, literally, I had negative $2 in my account. 2 weeks later, had a couple $1,000s, and I thought I was the richest man on earth. I remember booking a flight, going, cause I had to get back home for my brother's track meet, and I took all the homies out to eat sushi. Came back for Ty to say, bro, that is not the way that you're supposed to use your money. And I said, hey man, the stereotype of a brother coming across some change for a little bit, bro, it's very true. I'm learning though. But you learn, we learn better, we do better. And so, dude, all those little lessons that you taught me, dude, and just realizing that I do believe gospel is a cheat code. I think the gospel, if you apply it in every aspect of your life, you'll be able to succeed in every single endeavor, man. So you're the living embodiment of that. So I appreciate you, bro.
Dude, I appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Yes, sir. And then honestly, dude, for y'all that are watching, I have this is my hot take, and I posted this on TikTok. If you are in an area that's economically depressed, aka if you in the hood, everybody got their own hood in their race, okay? Everybody got that. But if you call this man, okay? You call this man because he will teach you the skill set to do what you need to do. If you need to find him, it's Tyler Thorn. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out some of our other ones. We just talked to someone who, his parents are pastors, and he used to be ex-Mormon, and now he's one of the most faithful disciples I've ever met. So appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.